La 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 la. I fucking loved The Warrior Prophet by R. Scott Baker. Book 2 of The Prince of Nothing. Loved it. Fucking perfect book for me. For me. I think it's peak. It's fucking amazing. I love everything about this book, from the prose, R. Scott Baker's prose, the imagery, the way that he blends the sweet and the cruel, the holy and the profane, the erotic and the hyper violent, the the transcendence and the Holocaust. The way he blends all of these things together is just unbelievably captivating. Of course, by doing that with the imagery throughout the Warrior Prophet, he definitely is providing compelling poetic juxtapositions, comparisons, contrasts, erotic contrasts, disturbing contrasts. But at the same time, I think that largely the Prince of Nothing is not simply a criticism of world religions, not simply a criticism of nihilism, but I think a criticism of ideology, a criticism of philosophy itself. Which is so radical and wild to me, and I love it. As a criticism of having a fucking psychology, I love it so much. Okay, awesome, great, cool. But since it's all of those things, I'm so excited, dude. I loved this book. I also think that this constant marriage or mixture of the holy and the profane together kind of removes value judgments, surely, obviously, but it also, rather than maximize the differences between the holy and profane, the prose often works to confuse the two. And that's, I think, where the actual disturbing qualities of this book comes from. When the book confuses the holy with the profane and vice versa so often deliberately that you as a reader start to morally confuse the two, morally confuse annihilation with salvation. And that, I think, honestly, is what makes the Warrior Prophet as disturbing as it is. And like I just said, I think it is a criticism of every ideology, every dead ideology that ever failed the human race, the human species, every dead philosophy that ever failed us, and all the dead philosophies that have yet to be invented by, oh, sadistic othered men, by mystics and sorcerers alike. I think it works excellently as a criticism of nihilism, and I think it accomplishes what Nietzsche never could, insofar as it tarred and feathered, it blackened, it tortured the nihilist inside of me out of my body, exorcised me of the nihilist inside, while blending crazy nihilism with an ultra violent deconstruction of the Christ metaphor of the Gospels, by mixing the holy with the profane, the Gospels with nihilism itself. You expose both as intrinsically, inherently dangerous, wrought with the dead. Nihilism and Christianity are two rotting philosophies. They're still alive. Both of those philosophies are still alive in perpetual opposition to one another, and both of them have gangrene. Both of them have rotting limbs, severed limbs, mashed up, bloodied faces, broken noses, and crooked spines. And I think the Warrior Prophet criticizes thought process itself, right? Obsessed with the darkness that comes before. And I do think so far that having read the first two, I think that this series is set up the way that a philosophy or a religion is set up, right? Or is born, right? The darkness before is that philosophy being born, the original argument, so to speak, setting up what this book is this one opens with a quote by Immanuel Kant, who is not a philosopher that I love or anything, but it is a revealing quote. And I think that in the Warrior Prophet, we see the philosophy that was born, the argument that was made in the darkness before, sorry, by all of its different characters, primarily by Anasarimber Kellis. This is that philosophy lived. This is that philosophy having to survive as something tactile, as something physical, as something existing within the world, something that lives. That philosophy lived. And I'm reading the Thousandfold Thought next, and that could either mean some form of mock enlightenment or possibly even an earnest enlightenment, or just the severe consequences of just how terrible Kellis's philosophy truly is, when you see it in this kind of disastrous, in my opinion, and cruel workable framework. Or the thousandfold thought could be annihilation, holocaust, and obviously the apocalypse, the second apocalypse. It could be anything, honestly. But I do think that this Prince of Nothing trilogy is definitely, so far, it's through the dark fantasy genre, it is mapping how philosophies are born, how philosophies are weaponized, how philosophies are lived, and how some philosophies even outlive its believers, or how some believers outlive that philosophy. Like, look at Kanar. He is a believer who outlived his own God, his own philosophy. And I do think that the Holy War is largely a nihilistic study, a nihilistic exploration of desperate men behaving desperately. And when desperate men behave desperately, they do horrific things to the world. I think that the character dynamics in here are so brilliant. I love seeing all the characters interact with each other. Esmonette is still such a winner in my book. Not my favorite character anymore, but I love her. I love her so much. She's like my second favorite character. I love what's become of this whore from Sumna, and I love that we're still inside of her head sometimes. Her POV chapters are like, me, this 31-year-old washed up fucking whore is now the wife of the living God. Like me, I get to be a huge part of history. And I don't know, I think that her seduction by Kellis feels so tragic yet preordained. It feels just so horrifying to read, and it's the most romantic that the book ever gets, and it's a horrifying account of nihilistic seduction in the guise of, or in the drapery of, Christian textures, honestly, is what Baker's doing. And it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. But my favorite character right now, um, I liked Proyas in The Darkness That Comes Before, fine. Wasn't a standout or anything, but in The Warrior Prophet, as I continued reading it, I was like, I like this Proyas dude a lot. Proyas is really interesting. I mean, he's a holy war fanatic, but his interactions with Kanar, the Skilvendi barbarian, his relationship with Akami and with Akka, and with Zanimus as well. It's fascinating. It's fascinating stuff, and I think fully fleshed out. And I at this point, I think that Proyas is the most intelligent figure in the entire book, or maybe he's just the one that I agree with the most, or find myself relating to most. He has a lot of grief. He has a lot of trepidation, a lot of doubts. His spiritual loyalties, his philosophical allegiances are tested by everything and everyone, but he's also he's also like a caste noble who truly listens to Kanar, to the barbarian. And I love the dynamic that was formed between the two of them. It was very surprising, but I thought it was there's warmth. Like I said in the last video about the darkness that comes before, there are these tiny pinpricks of hope as light that kind of does a lot to combat all of the relentless darkness that is that comprises most of the book's themes and characters and events. And Proyas, I saw a lot of warmth within that, within his character, within like so far as an arc from book one to now. I think he went from a fanatic to a clear free thinker, probably. Like he's the closest thing to a free thinker that I believe there is. And I think I look at myself as a free thinker. And I think that now that I'm talking about it, welcome to my therapy session with myself. I think that now that I'm talking about Proyas, I'm figuring out what I love most about him. Like Proyas was this caste noble who was taught by Akamian and constantly his entire life surrounded by these philosophies that interested him. But they were philosophies that he would like to sarcastically challenge, right? He would always like to challenge these philosophies. At least that's what we see of Proyas in flashbacks that he would have or Akka would have of his tutelage. He was always kind of skeptical about a lot of things. And then it seems like he's finally allowed himself to believe in Maithanet, believe in this holy war. And now this Maithanet thing feels like it's kind of just the background to a much larger spiritual drama that's unfolding on the desert plains of the Holy War itself between Kellis, this warrior prophet, and Akka of the Mandate School, and Zin, this great marshal, and the Scarlet Spires, and all these different things. I feel like Proyas, I guess, if I could transpose the nihilistic spiritual wasteland that is the Holy War from the warrior prophet and like put it into my real world, and see myself as a figure within it. I see myself as Proyas, this guy who like doesn't mean to betray his old teachers, to betray his old philosophies, but can't help doing so because he can feel all these different philosophies and spiritualities tugging on him and pulling at him forcefully in every single direction. But my favorite scene in this whole book, right? My favorite part, the part where reading it, I just fell in love with this part of it, and absolutely in love with Proyas. Because Proyas wants to believe. I mean, that's my whole thing with being a Christian anarchist right now. Like, I want to believe so fucking badly, right? I want to believe in something that I can't explain at all. Like, that's, and at the same time, I want to refuse any hierarchies or status quo, but that's not Proyas, that's me. But this scene that I'm talking about is Proyas talks to the Skilvendi. He just got he's like kind of still sick with hepoplexy, I think it was called, this disease that was tearing apart the men of the Tusk. And he's talking to Skilvendi, and he's like, yo, Saban, confess, obviously hates Kellis, considers him a false prophet. The greater names, the great and lesser names, are conspiring to get rid of Kellis. So, Skilvendi, what do you think of this? Do you think that he's a true prophet? Do you think that he is what he says he is? And Skilvendi basically was like, ask him yourself. Ask him yourself, but guard your heart. Guard your heart. So then Proyas goes to talk to him, and when he gets to Kellis's room, Kellis is in bed with Esmenet, and Esmenet, this beautiful olive-skinned older prostitute who was the lover and basically, for all intents and purposes, wife of Akka, his old teacher, who Proyas feels a lot of guilt about having to abandon, because at this point Akka and Zanimus both were missing from the camp, but that's a whole other things that I'm not going to deconstruct and analyze right now. We're analyzing this scene because I like this scene so much. But there's a lot weighing on his mind when he sees Esmnet in bed with Kellis. And that's the first thing. That's the first thing that's like, okay, I'm not liking what I am seeing, where this isn't starting the right way. But Kellis, of course, a Dunyain, this great manipulator of the darkness that comes before. He's possibly the most manipulative character I've ever read about in any sort of book. He's a guy who you can have a conversation with him, and then 5 minutes later, you're jumping off a building and you've never been suicidal before. Like, he can do anything. He can read faces, he can read emotions, he can see the darkness that comes before the thought itself and manipulate all the actions afterwards. He can see all of that stuff. So we get into this conversation where the Dunyain, Kellis, starts to kind of get the upper hand here, convincing him of all sorts of things until he says, and like during this conversation, Proyas is like, are you what they say you are? Are you what they say you are? He's having a real fucking Judas moment from Andrew Lloyd Webber's Jesus Christ Superstar. Like, tell me what you are. Like, please, just tell me. Are you what they say you are? And it's at that moment I was like, fuck, man. Kellis just gets away with everything, convince anyone of anything. And I didn't really expect Proyas to be able to resist, to fight off, to ward off Kellis's prowess, his powers of manipulation. But he did, because the next thing, like right before I think that he was about to embrace Proyas and convince him of his holiness, he said, "Open your heart to me, and you'll know." And boom, he was like, it's what the Skilvendi said, guard your heart. The Skilvendi knows. So Skilvendi knows something. And oh, wait, dude, I didn't bookmark it. Fuck, it's gonna take a minute. It's like my favorite ending to any chapter. It couldn't have happened that long before the ending, right? Well, get ready for a quick cut, gang. Look at that, I found it. You didn't have to wait for me to stumble to page 494. Someone warned him. The Skilvendi? Has he wandered so far? Proyas, I should have killed him. And how about you, Kellis? Proyas spat. Do you doubt? Does the great warrior prophet fear for the future? Kellis looked to Esmnet, saw that she wept. He reached out and clasped her cold hands. No, he said, I do not fear. Proyas was already backing out the double doors into the brighter light of the antechamber. You will. You will. Oh, I love that Proyas took that stand there, because I really thought Proyas was going to get smoothed over by fucking smooth talking ass, dumbass, Christ-like imposter ass, Prince of Nothing ass, fucking Kellis ass. I thought that was not the way that was going to go down. And I saw that as, this isn't a book that has a lot of heroes moments, because it's not a book that believes in heroes, and I'm starting to doubt whether or not it believes in villains either. But that's the closest thing to a hero's moment I think Proyas could have. And I guess I just relate to that character so much in that moment of just, like I said, he's very sick at that time, like I was talking about with the disease that was just going wild, killing so many people. He was sick with that, but I see that sickness, that apoplexy or whatever, I see that as a metaphor for like an existentialist nausea, the kind of nausea that Sartre talked about. And I believe he even coined the term, like the nausea of life itself, the nausea of meaning and meaninglessness both, the nausea of the human experience. And I think that nausea is derived, or at least I'm learning that from the Warrior Prophet. What makes the human experience so nauseating is just how many different philosophies, psychologies, and religions there actually are. And you feel as a free thinking human being, as a person, as an individual in this world, just so many things just tugging at you, so many ideas, so many teachers, so many messiahs tugging at you from everywhere. And over time that nauseates you, because every once in a while you'll start to believe in something, maybe even get fanatical about something, and then realize that, like, oh fuck dude, I just need to believe in something. Okay, you're another thing. You're like the last thing, man. Like, are you what they say you are? I think Proyas wants him to be what everyone says he is. I think that Proyas wants him to be the warrior prophet. I think he needs him to be the warrior prophet. I think he's desperate. But Proyas's desperation isn't as cruel as the other. As Proyas's desperation is, he needs belief, and that's all he needs. But this world is so nihilistically coded that belief itself is always victim number one. And Proyas's belief system was no different. So when he's there and he's begging, basically begging to believe in it, still, he doesn't. That's because of Kanar. That's because of the surprising friendship, relationship, camaraderie he found with a fucking Skilvendi barbarian. Because of the friendship. That's the only reason that he wasn't made into another drooling cult worshiper. That's the only reason at that point, because of Kanar. Like, the dynamics pay off in beautiful ways, and while I'm just focusing on that one for the last chunk of time, you can see that in so many other characters. Like, briefly to talk about the other characters, Kanar was amazing, incredibly used here. Another phenomenal scene is, like, after he fucks up the second march and he's out in the ocean and Kellis is like, well, gotta kill him, there's no more use for him anymore. And dude, they have this confrontation is just so hyper emotional and so just fucking raw. Oh my god. And like the way he responds to Survey, whatever her name is. Survey is how I say it in my head, and it's how I'm gonna say it now, god damn it. Survey was an amazing character. Her death really impacted me, but not nearly as much as it impacted Kanar. Seeing him grapple with losing his trophy, cutting his throat as a soissons, as a mark of her soul, and he's going to carry that darkness forever. So he feels responsible for it ultimately. And of course, in the first book, I thought the best part of it was Kanar's chapters that he spent with Kellis and Survey. And Survey was this thing they were competing over, but it's two warring philosophies competing over Survey. A more it's the religion of violence, the religion of war. Shorthand, it is still nihilism, and Kellis's religion is coded with dark Christianity, but it is still nihilism. So it's two schools of nihilism competing over Survey. But when two schools of nihilism compete over the same beautiful 19-year-old blonde concubine, they end up destroying her in 5,000 different ways, ultimately leading to her untimely death, her murder at the hands of Sarcellus, a skin spy. Like, all of it just poetically pays off in ways that I think are heartbreaking and soul revealing. Yeah, I love Survey. I did love Kellis as well. Kellis is a fascinating character, but if I had to label anyone the primary antagonist of this story, it's him, even over the consult, even over all these fucking rape monster demons with black seed. I think that Kellis is more dangerous than any of them. I'm not gonna fall for this Jesus figure bullshit, man. I don't trust the motherfucker. And Akka just gets cucked like 50 fucking times. So it's just about cucking Akka. His story is about being cucked. It's not. It's not. It's not just about being cucked. Akka is a pathetic character, though. He's a character of pathetic virtue, but virtue nonetheless. And virtue in a universe as as drenched with nihilism as a warrior prophet, virtue will always seem weak and pathetic. But that's why we have to kind of look at Akka differently. And I do like Akka. Confess. I mentioned him pretty in passing when I was talking about Proyas. I mentioned Confess. I like Confess. Not nearly as rich or dynamic or complex as I find Proyas, but I like the two of them a lot, and I like Saban a lot in this book. The first march, Saban's like, dude, his war, his battle, dude. I was there, bro. That was like one of the most intense fantasy battles I've ever read. The very first march where Saban is victorious, like I was like, holy shit, dude. Wow, wow, yeah, okay. Proyas, Saban, and Confas, I think, are just so fucking great. I think they are great characters. Proyas, though, I think I saw a lot of myself in him. Like you get older and you feel like you disappoint not only the the teachers that you had before, but also the philosophies that that your teachers taught, the philosophies that I believed in. Like as you get older and you're trying to find something worthy to be fanatical over, you believe in different philosophies at different times, and eventually you feel like you've betrayed certain schools of thought, be they existentialist schools of thought or mandate schools of thought. You feel like you've betrayed philosophy itself. So I loved Proyas so much. I think that the structure of this is great, broken up into the three marches, the Civil War. Or, oh, I think that I did that in the last video. Kept calling it the Civil War. Maybe because in my head I do see it as like a war between philosophy. Right. And like I guess Holy War ultimately also is a war between philosophy. And I see all philosophies as brothers of each other, or at least different branches on the same large tree of thought. But still, the three marches of the Holy War, just beautiful. And by the end, it is grotesquely, demonically absolved, the Holy War, when Kellis is saved and the Holy War flies its banner under Kellis. Because that's the tragedy, right? Like both Proyas and Kanar had their Proyas has misgivings about Kellis. Kanar outright knows everything about the Dunyain, having dealt with his father. But they both agree that Kellis is needed in order for the hunt to continue, in order for this campaign to continue. And I think Proteus was moved by Akka as he was making the case for Kellis to the great and lesser names, to the nobles, about how he believes that Kellis is it's the only thing that could save us from the second apocalypse, which could just be Akka misinterpreting some shit, all right? Honestly, it probably is just Akka misinterpreting shit. But I think Proteus was moved from that. Because like I said, Proteus wants to believe. He wants to believe in things. But by the end of the book, they free Kellis, who they had condemned to death along according to like the rule the tractate of the Tusk, which involved cutting Serway's throat and like hanging them together. They saved Kellis from that fate, and then they marched under the banner of the warrior prophet. So it was absolved, meaning the holy war has been won by Kellis. Kellis has won this book. He has won the holy war. Everyone marches under his banner. Dark fantasy, remember? Grimdark, remember? The bad guys, they're gonna win. They gotta win. Um, Extremely dark. But like through that, you can learn a lot about how if someone knows how to weaponize, like truly weaponize and intellectualize nihilism itself with the tools of Christianity or with spirituality, then there can possibly be no stopping him. Beware of figures like Anasarimber Kellis. Beware. I had fucking what? I had such a good time with this book. I enjoyed every line, every page. It was so fucking genius. So genius. So much better than the darkness that comes before. And I really like the darkness that comes before a lot. I loved it, actually. It was phenomenal. This is on another level. I'm not really sure what that level is, but it's fucking unreasonably masterful, in my opinion. Fucking perfect book. And it's a book that I'm going to think about for a very, very long time. Honestly. All the different dynamics, because it's not just character dynamics, even though the character dynamics are fascinating. It's not just romantic, or it's not just like rivalries. It's not just shit like that. It's not just bad things happening over and over and over again. I see characters as the personifications of certain aspects of certain psychologies and philosophies. So the dynamics that's shared between the characters here, that Baker has provided between the characters, is the dynamic that I see between philosophies themselves, and how certain philosophies will backstab other philosophies, or how certain philosophies will form unlikely bonds, partnerships with other philosophies and psychologies. Like, it's so interesting. There's like so many different ways to peel, to skin this motherfucking cat. There's so many ways to skin this cat. I loved it. It was so good. Fuck yeah, dude. Is grimdark is this dark fantasy supposed to make me smile this much? Because it has. Maybe I'm just a little fucking damaged, but it's fine. It's fine. This book's so good. Yeah. Yes, dude. Yes. Fuck. Oh, it's brilliant. It's just a fucking brilliant book. Okay. I should end the video, because now I'm just saying that it's genius over and over again. But thank you for watching this video. I hope you appreciated some of my thoughts about the Warrior Prophet. Yeah, it's a book that hit me so deeply. I have such a deep connection with this book, specifically, the Warrior Prophet. Such a deep connection with it. Like, it's nightmarishly, symbolically, I do see existence as a series of marches in this nihilistic holy war of bakers. Like, I do see the landscape, the iconography of my life nauseatingly mirrored here in strictly gothic and dark curvatures and ways, like forms. I see myself here, and I feel myself in this holy war. And that's fucking crazy. Oh, that's crazy. All right. Bye for now.